as a result, it's been going on. It's been ongoing. And so basically, I inherited that system from them. They did the history thing. I came with the mystery thing. And I was able and was pleased to get in on the last vestiges of them in their particular lecture system. You know, I did one. I was glad to do a 1994 Melanin Conference with Tony Broader, Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark. And if anybody has ever had the opportunity to meet Brother John Henry Clark before he passed on, you can consider yourself blessed. And anybody knows who's met him, there's never been much of a beautiful soul. And I could even say that about Dr. Ben. You know, Dr. Ben, one thing we could say about Dr. Ben, he loved black people. And he would go out his way just to go eat at a black restaurant, even if it was 20 miles out. You see, and he was a master. Somebody said they were in Africa, in the Sahara. There was someplace they got lost, and they didn't know where the hell they were. And Dr. Ben said, don't worry about it, and looked up in the sky and started divining them stars and got the people home. That's how bad his brother was. So we come from a long tradition. You see, and like I said, the metaphysical tradition with Delbert Blair, the great master C. Freeman that made the transition, and so on. Which leads us to a brother named Dr. Goss, Dr. Paul Goss at New Body Products, who made mention about something recently that I must share with you, because he set the record straight on what was going on. And then that led me to break some other systems and then tie those two things together. Before I get to God Ganesha, that's Ganesha. So you go on your website, the Hindu god Ganesha. That's the elephant head deity. It's the most popular deity in India. And he's real powerful right now. And he's going to be real powerful for this Christmas vacation. He is the opener of the way. He is the Hindu Legba, the Hindu Tahuti, the Hindu Anubis. Any one of these gods that open the way. The Hindu Baron Samdi, who opens the way to the underworld. And his power is unprecedented right now. So if you can frequent Marshalls, I know if for people around the country, you can go to Ross. That's the other people. You go to Ross, you go to TJ Maxx, you can go to Marshalls, and you can get these statues now. Because they were doing these Buddha statues for years, and all of a sudden, they started bringing in these Ganesha statues. So if you're in the New York area, I think you just have to frequent to get the cheap ones. You know, Marshalls or TJ Maxx. Now, if not, you could always go to the Hindu section. There's a whole section all around Soho and all that particular area, West 4th Street, and you can get you what you want to get you a Ganesha statue to open the ways, because he's real powerful right now. He's even come and said that he is a former Archangel Michael. I'm like, oh man. So this thing is all tying together. It's called a table of correspondence, and we got to correspond with all these deities, especially them, because I'm going to tell you something. Number one, you can get Ivan Van Sertima's African presence in early Asia, African presence in early Europe, African presence in early America. You see, and it's interesting here because Ganesha and the whole Hindu pantheon is, not only do you have the Dravidians, but what they're not telling you is the original Aryans were black people. The original Aryans were black people, or indigenous people. The white Aryan didn't come into existence until the 1930s, or the 1920s and 1930s, when they took Blavatsky's works of the secret doctrines and learned about the Aryan and then usurped that, because they had to usurp that as to become an ancient people. I don't want to say white people, I'm talking about these Germans, the ones that call themselves Aryans. And it's just interesting here because you got your whole Aryan nation in the prisons now, and they don't even know. They are shouting the Aryan, and they don't even know. That's brothers and sisters. You see, there's a whole thing on that. So I just wanted to just put that out there. But right now, Ganesha is real powerful, so we want to give Ganesha a shout out and tell Ganesha to open the way. But I want the people who never heard of him to go on the internet, and look him up, because he's real powerful right now. And there might be some blessings for you that can even enhance your angelic stimulus package. And so as you people that want to get the angelic stimulus package, you know you can call 678-358-1055. And not only do you get the angelic stimulus package that you've been seeing on the internet, but also we sell my DVDs, which if anybody, so a lot of the stuff that we sell 3 times as much as you see on YouTube. And these are ones that you can't get on YouTube. So these are catalog stuff that goes back for 18 years. And so, you know, and it's over 300 of them. So I'm just saying you can inquire about that. Another good special we have here is those beautiful pictures that's real powerful that you see on the YouTube behind me when I'm doing my lectures. We've amassed so many of them until we sell about $100 worth for $50. You said I don't want to quote no price, but just to put that in. Now, to go back to what I want to deal with right now that's very urgent is 2 things. First of all, this is interesting here that Tiger Woods got his nigga wake-up call. Down on him, but let me tell you some things about him. He was a person that truly, really didn't like being black. He took offense to it. As a matter of fact, it was embarrassing of what he did back in on the 60th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color line. Bill Clinton, who was the president at that time, thought it would be nice that Jackie Robinson's 60th anniversary of breaking the color line, which made it to the point where even black people could play in the sports with modern day sports, integrated sports. So it was a big thing. So as a result, they decided, well, let's get Tiger Woods since he just won the Masters. And although they've had black pro golfers before him, until he started winning at that particular level and people started paying attention to him, they considered that a barrier that was broken, a breaking of a color line. You see what I'm saying? So they invited him to come and do a celebration with Jackie Robinson's beautiful wife on the 60th anniversary. You see what I'm saying? And he was appalled by the idea and turned it down because he didn't want to be associated with the black athlete. And turned it down, which was an embarrassment. Here's the president of the United States inviting you to come deal with a ceremony of Jackie Robinson, and it was actually for Jackie Robinson's wife, and it's an embarrassment for you to turn that down when we don't get celebrated that often. We should jump at the chance. You see what I mean? We should jump at the chance. He felt appalled by it and turned it down, and later on had to go and apologize to the wife after somebody pulled his coattail. You see what I'm saying? He also spoke out against the Katrina victims. He was embarrassed when the ones was looting and said they need to be ashamed of themselves. You see what I'm saying? My point here is, hey, these people in turmoil, and we know that they blew the levees because New Orleans weathered the storm. So there was some conspiracy on that. That's what it was. You see what I'm saying? So my point here is, OJ is gone. Michael is gone. You the new OJ. And as a result, here it is. His best of friends is turning against him now. Just like they did OJ. His best of friends is turning against him now. You see what I'm saying? You know, because you needed your nigga wake-up call. And in this particular case, unlike OJ, he don't have a black community behind him because we never knew him that way. Because he never reached out that way. It's one thing to do private philanthropy, but it's another thing to have a show of force and show up. You see what I'm saying? So this is very interesting because you had 2 people get their nigga wake-up calls this year. First, it was Henry Louis Gates, who 10 years ago did a derogative PBS special and said on that special that if it wasn't for the black people in West Africa, the slave trade wouldn't have been able to happen. And made this foolishness up. Then went to Egypt and said, I'm going to Nubia to trace the black pharaohs, as to say that the pharaohs weren't black. You see what I'm saying? So when he came up with this foolishness, I think it was a group of them, Leonard Jeffries, it might have been Vine Sutter, it was a bunch of them that headed for Harvard to challenge him on this, and the nigga ran. 10 years to the day, 10 years later, he steps out on the porch, and that white cop giving his nigga wake-up call, and the white cop didn't even apologize. You see what I'm saying? When they arrested him in his own house. But people don't understand cause and effect. People don't understand cause and effect. So I just want to put that type of stuff down. Now, going into what's going on, just it's no different than when they breached this man's passport and got all his information. Remember when he was running and they breached this man's passport and got all his information when he was running for president? You're talking the same science. Or whenever this whole thing of his doggone birth certificate up in, in question. So it's always been a few things. We're talking about a man, and let me tell you what's really, really messed up about this. This man gets more death threats than not only any other president, but he's got more death threats than any other living human that ever lived in the United States. You see what I'm saying? That's how much death threat this man got. And you mean to tell me this man's first state dinner, and and it's a breach of, and it was a breach of security? I don't buy that. I don't buy it. You see what I'm saying? It's ain't that much coincidence in the world. I don't buy that. It had to happen on his watch. You see what I'm saying? Everything is everything. And my point here is, it never happened before, and all of a sudden this thing is going to happen. You see, so you're right on that. You see, I think it's still ritualistic. It is still ritualistic. And of course, he also loves red. Red and yellow is his color, but mainly red. If you can get some red, is real powerful for him. Another thing too, if you're supposed to invoke him in the matters of, if you're dealing with sexual intercourse, you want to invoke him before you enter. That way that your sex can actually end up spiritual. And certain things can go the right way. You want to invoke him for sexual intercourse. You also want to invoke him for, like I said, for any kind of endeavor that you have obstacles, naturally, because he's the remover of obstacles. But you also want to invoke him. You also want to invoke him right before you read. When you want to read books, a lot of people, when you have problems reading these books, is because you got problems getting into the mindset of some of these authors. You see what I'm saying? Some of these authors are real. If you ever try to read some German authors like Rudolf Steiner and German scholars and stuff, they can be very rigid. So you want to invoke him when you want to read and get clarity on these particular books and let it flow a certain way, and that's one that can also help you too. So I want to deal with a few things. I talked about this woman. I don't know if I talked about it last week, Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks, there's a book that's coming out in February called The Immortal Genes of Henrietta Lacks. And basically, they took this black woman's genes in 1951, and they grew these genes. And she died shortly after they took these genes. But she was already, I think she was dying from cancer, so they got her genes. And they grew these genes, and they've been using these genes as a super atom or a super gene to go with any of the last developments for the last 50 years. Over the last 50 years, any type of breakthrough in cures, it was Henrietta Lacks' genes that they put with it. Even took her genes in space. You see what I'm saying? We'd heard before that they would spray a certain amount of melanin to go through the atmosphere and different things. So they even took her genes to space. So they did so much on these genes. But it's like anything else. We come to find out that she's just the one that they documented her genes. It wasn't like her genes was any different than any other black woman. But this is one of the keys on whether so we need to find out where these research goes. It's just like they had the eugenics program. The eugenics program was based on genetics, and it was trying to make out that black people were inferior And they had this whole eugenics program, and Adolf Hitler and all of them was a part of that, was a part of the whole eugenics program. And they wanted to sterilize black people and all this type of stuff. But anyway, that eugenics program of trying to curtail black growth in America and around the earth, you see what I'm saying, went into, the eugenics program turned into Planned Parenthood. And then they have a cadre of thousands of abortion clinics all in the black community. So you need to track these things. So this Henrietta Lacks program, it turned into what we now know as stem cell research. Now this is the key, because Obama lifted the ban on stem cell research. Well, this is where this research comes in, and this is where this comes in when I was talking about Dr. Paul Goss. Because I got a call the day that Obama lifted the ban on stem cell research. And the sister named Shakira, which is out, and she lives out in Phoenix, and she's I'm 48 November 28th. She was 78 November 28th. You see, she's born 1931. I was born 1961. She immediately called the day after he lifted the stem cell research ban, and she made it known to me that Paul Goss, who had been doing work in this particular thing and found out that the stem cells, the only ones that work is coming from black children or black fetuses or whatever you want to call it. So it has to be on an original, indigenous, primordial African lineage. You see what I'm saying? It's just like that interferon thing where these was coming from the testicles of black children to this interferon stuff. And the whole Atlanta child murders was based on that. Well, it's this research that we're dealing with stem cells is talking about black fetuses or black, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it a fetus or whatever you want to call it, at the particular time where they're dealing with this stem cell research. It's all based on black fetuses, which leads us to the other link. The other link here is philanthropy and your boy, Mr. Bill Gates, which is now, his whole campaign is in Africa. His whole campaign is about Africa. Now, he said that the Warren Buffett, the two richest men in this country, him and Warren Buffett turned him on to the latest things. I guess this is what billionaires or trillionaires should do. And in so many words, what they do under the guise of philanthropy. You see what I'm saying? And even Cornel West even said philanthropy, there is no such thing as is this particular philanthropy as serving humanity. This is all nothing but neo-colonialism. Try to understand. So what happens is this. They go to these underdeveloped countries that they purposely underdeveloped, and they got this word called developing nations. I heard Bill Gates last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, use this thing about 10 times in a conversation. Developing nations. In so many words, what they are saying, these rich people, you got to understand the mindset of these particular global elite is this. If you are not a developed country because we didn't make sure you developed in the last 100 years, if you're not a developed country, then in so many words, not only is the land up for grab for resources, we know that. We know that the cell phone can't even be possible now unless it's some stuff from Africa. Nevertheless, that's been going on for close to 200 years. But we also know that when they say this, it's up for grabs, the people are up for grabs. So in so many words, by you being a philanthropist and you give these companies, these countries this money, you get to own the people. But how do you get to own the people? You don't necessarily have to get to own the people on the neo-colonial, on the old colonial way of colonization. You can own the people through one way. And Bill Gates announced what it was. He said, we are over there doing DNA sequencing. So they get to own the people based on the DNA. You see what I'm saying? And then bring that DNA to market so people can buy the DNA from them. It's just like Donald Trump back in the 80s was trying to buy up You know, he said, well, I'll buy the space over your building. So in the future, I can build, you see what I'm saying, like that. Well, it's the same thing. We could get this DNA, and if we sequence this DNA, we package this DNA for sale. So it's, you see what I'm saying? So it's not only it's a form of genetic slavery. You see what I'm saying? And it's interesting here, because when I come to find out there was a woman, a white girl from Emory, which is the Harvard of the South. Coca-Cola made a whole university down there. They funded a whole university down here, and it's the Harvard of the South. And in the university, I think this white girl just got something like maybe $19 million to go to Ethiopia to sequence the DNA and deal with the DNA in Ethiopia. Talking about because they got the birth rate is low. Something about the birth rate is infant mortality rate. Now you know doggone well the DNA ain't got nothing to do with them saving no children. You see what I'm saying? Saving no children. You see, we already know the plan that they were supposed to take billions of people off the earth because they didn't want to feed them. So in this particular case, to go into Ethiopia, Kush, that's like going to the center of Mount Kilimanjaro. Somalia, the whole 9 yards on the battle of some of the oldest people on the planet, and trying to get that particular DNA. So just show you the type of things that's actually going down, and this stem cell and all that has a lot to do with it. You see what I'm saying? Now, how does this connect with mythology? You want to go read the books. You want to go read the books, the Book of Enoch by R.H. Charles. Now, they just put out, there were several of these books that's very expensive, but Samuel Weiser just put out a purple new Book of Enoch about $14. You can get it at Barnes & Noble's, Borders, or what have you. It's a new Book of Enoch that was put out in 2003. And in that Book of Enoch, they even talk about how we would be made small by the powers. And they say we would even be made in the aspect of food. You see what I'm saying? In food. And they talk about how we would bow our heads. We would bow our heads, but we couldn't find no one that would even hearken an ear to listen to our complaints. And they talk about all this tragedy that was going to go on. They also talk about the origin of the war in heaven that we just, the war in heaven, which is there's a truth on. But they go into the very interesting at this particular time based on this Book of Enoch, what they say. And they say they make mention in this Book of Enoch of the time when these genocides will be going on, and they say it'll be the time of steel mountains. Steel mountains. Anybody know a steel mountain is a building? A building's frame is made out of steel before they put the brick or whatever, the stone or whatever they're doing. They said it'll be in the time of steel mountains. So they were talking about the modern times. You see. Then they talk about there will be a group of these particular people who look like the enemy, who has been beating you down, will start writing books for you and will start bringing this particular information out. And they say, do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Which it meant was there's a symbiotic relationship with white folks who are bringing this particular information because it's time and it will come to pass. Because in the Book of Enoch, not in the Book of Enoch, in the Gospel of Thomas, which was one of the books that didn't make it into the Bible, the Gospel of Thomas, they say, in the last days, nothing will be hidden. Well, how is this to go? We can't. We're just 20 years into this particular research as black people. When I say on our dealing with a little over 25, 26 years when we talk about our classical history. You see what I'm saying? Because we were stuck in fundamentalism all those particular years. You see, so who else is going to have to write these books a lot of time? Now, we're doing it. We've been 20 years into it, but it's been a universal aspect and effort to get this particular information out, including white folks and people from all over the world. But mainly but it was prophesied that the Europeans will be the preservers of this particular information. But this is all prophesied in the mythology, as well as I tell everybody to get the Jason and the Argonauts. You can get the movie. You can get the movie 1963, or you can get the movie 2000. Jason and the Argonaut is none other than two things. It's multiple meanings, but one of it is a slave ship to bring the best of the heroes, or the Herus, which you know Horus is a Horus lineage. It is a race.
Right.
The Horus. They say bring the best of the heroes to Caucasus at the end of the earth, and Caucasus at the end of the earth to receive the golden fleece. And the golden fleece is dealing with alchemy, and alchemy is dealing with melanin and dealing with the talents of an indigenous people who've gone through the Middle Passage in the slave trade. You see what I'm saying? To manifest into this golden fleece, the smooth ashlar, this Christos, this philosopher's stone. It has multiple names, this great work. You see what I'm saying? And so the mythology tells the stories. You see, tells the stories. And why we can make claim to it? Because we wrote it. We wrote it. They just recently, in 1999, we've heard of Martin Badal's books, Black Athena, which started the whole concept of, to the European world, of Greece getting all this stuff from Egypt. And basically what he did was he read George G.M. James's book, Stolen Legacy, and from that he was inspired to do the Black Athena. But later on, there's a book called The East Face of Helicon, put out by Cambridge University. And in this particular book, they bear witness in 1999. It's been real quiet. I think it's put out by Oxford University. You know, that's the top shit. East Face of Helicon. And it was put out by Oxford University. I think the guy's last name is West. And in there, they had these forums at Oxford, and they put out this big book saying that they now know that all the Greek mythology is Phoenician, which is talking about Carthage. Phoenician is first, Carthage, and later on now what you talk about, Libya. Well, it's interesting here because they bear witness that the goddess Athena, which is the basis of Athens, Greece, comes from Carthage. Comes from Carthage, which is now modern-day Libya. And they even call her the African goddess. But her Egyptian name is Neith. To knit together. Knit together. And Neith is one of four statues that's around King Tut's tomb. Aset, or Isis, Nephtet, which is Nephtes, a scorpion goddess called Serket, and Neith, to knit. So this is some amazing stuff that is going on. I want to talk about a movie, because this is what they'll do. They want to talk about a movie, and when they want to hide something and make it go straight to, DVD. What they will do is they will get a star like this. The star used to be Anne H. Anne H was starring opposite Harrison Ford, and she was moving up the ladder, and then she got into that love affair with Ellen DeGeneres. And then Anne H fell off because she couldn't play leading ladies no more, because everybody knows she was, doing the lesbian thing. Then she got out of that and got with some other guy she was with, and then she claimed she started seeing aliens. So so she became the laugh of the town. So one of the keys is she started her ascent back into stuff, and so she would be the right one that they would pick to do this movie. And the name of this movie is called Toxic Skies. Toxic Skies, with Anne H. And it must have been done up in Canada. But anyway, this is a movie based on the chemtrails. And in this movie they name all of the diabetes, the high blood pressure, the cancer, and all the stuff that's been on the rise since the early 90s. They had named these things. They say that the chemtrails would make these things go to an alarming rate so that the pharmaceutical companies can get paid. You see what I'm saying? Among other things, they drop all of the information in this movie called Toxic Skies. But one of the keys with this particular movie here is they go straight to DVD. And they always do this. And I think this is the only way they could get stuff done in this country. All they say is freedom of speech and all this shit. That's bull. The way that they do this is, remember the movie Enemy of the State and all the surveillance that they had Will Smith up under? And we knew it was government structures that was doing this. So what they will do is, like Enemy of the State, they just say, well, we got a person that was inside of the government that went rogue. So although we had this capability as the government to put Will Smith under this surveillance and all the stuff the hell he went through, it was a person that went outside of the government. Well, this is what they did in Toxic Skies. It's this rogue person from a major corporation that went rogue. But what they ain't telling you here is, go get the movie Network. And in that movie Network, from the 1978, when it's explained to this guy, he's thinking that these corporations are taking over America. The guy said there is no such thing as America. There's only big corporations. That's all there is. So this is very interesting. I just want to put that down as far as you guys.